Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this is going to be the full build guide showcase for the Firebrand Spellblade. So, this build didn't really meet my expectations per se. I wanted to push it just a little bit higher in corruption. Right now, we're around like 500. But if you ask EHG, technically it's well over a success because most builds should at least get to 300 corruption. But I have significantly higher standards than EHG does in that regard. So for me, it's still a failure, but for them, technically, it's a quote unquote success. But I would say that this is a failure overall, especially with the amount that I invested into it. But we're still going to talk about it because not only did I put a lot of currency into the build, but I had a lot of fun with it. Sure, like the numbers didn't end up being exactly what I wanted it to be in the end, but I still had fun with it. So we're going to talk about it anyways. If you haven't already, I would heavily suggest leave a like of the video and subscribing to the channel, as that is the best way of currently supporting me and the best way of currently showing me that you want more content like this on YouTube. Now, let's talk about the build more in detail, shall we? The idea is we're playing Firebrand. That's literally just the idea. The reason why we're playing Firebrand is recently the Curse played a Firebrand build with the hammer from the Reign of Dragons Harbinger. I can't remember its name right now. It's like the two-handed hammer, Event Horizon. Yeah. So the way Event Horizon works is it makes you have less attack speed, but hit way harder. And there's a node in Firebrand that turns off attack speed scaling, and he was using it to try to cheese the Event Horizon. And that build didn't go as well either, but I saw Firebrand skill tree and I was like, wait a moment, they reworked this patch and it looks almost good enough. And let me tell you, it is almost good enough. Firebrand skill tree is so close to actually being a usable thing. Like the more damage modifiers are so close to being there. Like it is very close. I would say like 80% of the way there of being an acceptable amount of DPS for a skill, which I'm excited for because that means that it's almost good enough for a video. So let's talk about it. So I decided to go the other route with Firebrand. We decided to go for as much attack speed as humanly possible. So, of course, we have a Renegade's Will with a T7 melee attack speed on it. We have a pair of Falcon Fists with T7 melee attack speed on it as well. These Falcon Fists, by the way, they are absolutely absurd. A double T7 prefix and hybrid health. By the way, this was only 1,000,000 gold to make because people don't know how to properly price melee items right now, because not many people play melee builds right now, so the items aren't really priced in the appropriate manner. So I was able to pick this up for very cheap, and all of this combined leads us to about 327% attack speed in total, and it's actually even more if you take into account Firebrand skill tree as well. I think it's like 350% attack speed. So we're getting well over right now. If you take the attack speed modifier of Firebrand, we're getting like about like 5 attacks per second or something like that. And you can tell the animation is hilarious. Just watching someone just stand there and poke things from a distance with Firebrand. The animation is hilarious, just absolutely hilarious. Like I love the animation. That's probably the reason why I'm even playing this build for this long. It's not because of the numbers or anything, but because of how fast it attacks. It's just entertaining watching it, having this much attack speed and going up pew 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 pew. Like sometimes dude, like you gotta play something for fun, and that's definitely what I did here. So pretty much all the other gear is just Spellblade stuff, dude. It's just as much melee flat fire as you could possibly get. One interesting thing is we can actually utilize what is it called, Eye of Reen, properly. So if you don't know, Eye of Reen got nerfed for indirect cast, but thankfully this build doesn't have any indirect cast per se, so we still actually get the benefits off of Eye of Reen. So we get like well over like I think it's like another 100% crit multi just by having all this attack speed, which is great because we need to benefit off of having such high attack speed. Otherwise, the build would feel terrible, right? So Eye of Reen definitely good for second in slot as well. I also hit T7 melee attack speed on that after a few rolls, which was nice. Just all the attack speed we could possibly get. I think I went a little overboard with the attack speed though. I think in theory, I don't think Renegade's Will is that good of an item. I think you could easily replace this with a 2 to 3 LP the axe, whatever it's called, the Phoenix, Hakar's Phoenix, yeah, the one with the 20% fire pen and stuff like that. I think if you could manage to get a 2 to 3 LP one of these things and slam good stats on it instead, I think this would be better than Renegade's Will. But Renegade's Will actually exists while 3 LP Hakar's Phoenix does not exist. So I went with the Renegade's Will instead because I wanted the 3 LP because I needed armor shot on hit. Otherwise, I would have had to get armor shot on hit on the amulet or the gloves, and the gloves is out of the question because of the pair of gloves that we have. So we ended up with the Renegade's Will instead because it just has an absurd amount of attack speed on it. But yeah, I think that there could be a better weapon than this. But the original idea of why we're using the Renegade's Will is because I have so much melee flat from being a Spellblade and from Firebrand and all this that the only things we really need to scale is crit multi, percent damage, and attack speed. And that's what I did with the build. And overall, I think it was a success. I think if I chose any other skill, it'd have been fine. If I chose like Mana Strike, if I chose, freaking Firebrand or whatever, I think I would have been fine in terms of damage. But Firebrand just is 100% added damage effectiveness without that many more damage modifiers on its tree, so it leads it to not being good enough in the end. But definitely could get there with like a buff or two. I think if it had like maybe like, I don't know, 150% added damage effectiveness, it would be an acceptable amount of DPS in my opinion. Yeah, that's going to be it for the intro here. We're going to go in game and talk about the build more in detail, shall we? All right, here we are in game with the character. So we're going to go over the skills real quick here. So we have Firebrand. Mainly Firebrand, all we care about is getting to the more damage modifiers. Mainly the more damage here, the more damage here, and the more damage here. You get a little bit of attack speed here, just 18%. Well, you also get access to 2 extra stacks of Firebrand. If you don't know, every stack of Firebrand gives you like 5 flats, and you get like, I think in total 30 flat from this, which is great. It's a good amount of flat damage on top of everything else we're doing. So that helps us actually significantly, as it means we need less flat damage on our weapons and stuff. But another node that I found that was very useful for this kind of build is Triple Strike. Mainly the thing we like about Triple Strike is just the fact that it like hits in a cone now, which kind of like increases your clear significantly. It makes your clear like a lot better. I was trying normal strike without the Triple Strike, and let me tell you, this is like so much better. Just being able to like actually hit all, like pretty much the entire screen very quickly with this. Just being able to like auto target with Firebrand. That's actually another thing I really like about Firebrand, is it auto targets for you as a melee attack. You know, it's like bing, 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 bing. It's great. I love it. So those are the main things that are mandatory for Firebrand. There's not really much else that's like mandatory. We also grab this crit chance. We actually get like 180% crit chance from this node, which is enough to cap our crit on top of everything else that we have currently. That's pretty much it for Firebrand. Enchant weapon is just your stereotypical enchant weapon tree with melee flat fire here, attack speed, getting the active duration to 9 seconds, so that when we get the cooldown to 12 seconds, we only have like 4 seconds of downtime, and then some increased melee damage, sure, why not? And then like some chill chance, not a big deal. I also grabbed the cleansing so that we can cleanse ailments on us every few seconds. It's great. That's pretty much it for enchant weapon. Then for flame reef is an interesting skill in this build. We're utilizing flame reef mainly for the pull. So we actually grab it for the pull. So we're pulling enemies in, and we're kind of like manipulating their position, because usually what you can do is if you have a bunch of enemies around you, you can pull and then move and then kill them all in one fell swoop in like a line. It's actually very convenient being able to do this, being able to like pull them in and then kill them. It's great. We also run it for haste as well. We get haste on cast of it. We also get frenzy on cast of it as well. And both of these combined means that, you know, we just have decent amount of clear because of that. A lot better clear than we would have without Flame Reeve, I'll tell you that much. And Flame Reeve just feels really good to use to be able to move things. So especially Harbingers, you can actually use it to move Harbingers around too, which is very neat. Then Flame Ward, it's like, I don't really need to talk about Flame Ward, do I? And then like Teleport, mainly all we care about is just the 250 flat armor. Everything else is just like extra fluff. increased damage, of course. This health to ward gain's actually pretty good. We get a very large amount of ward just by teleporting around and then leeching back our health. Like, we get a massive amount of ward. I mean massive, right? It's actually really nice having that extra ward on teleport. And that's pretty much it for the skills. Let's talk about the passives that are important. Mainly reactive ward and silver rune are the reasons why we can actually go HP based on a Spellblade. It allows us to get a large amount of ward very quickly. As soon as I take any damage, I get like 3k ward like instantly. It's great. Just such a strong node combo. Makes playing HP as a mage so much better. Just having an inbuilt cast when damage taken. It's great. Then for Rune Master here, we're just grabbing the crit chance here. Eventually full points in Sphere Protection when I'm like level 100. Then 8 points in Transcendence for the HP and the ward per second. We're playing hybrid. We have a lot of intelligence scaling, so we have hybrid HP and ward, which allows us to phase tank things later on in corruption and stuff like that. And it helps out versus all of these stupid event packs specifically, right? Because they're very dangerous right now. So that's pretty much it for Rune Master. Then for Spellblade here, the things that matter the most is just the base crit, of course, the dual wield node. It's like not too crazy, just mainly just all this base crit, all this crit from Defender Valorant as well, because we actually get a decent amount of dexterity, which not only gives us percent damage because we're using a dexterity skill. Like, it's just nice having that much crit chance on our build. Like I said, we're capped out with the Firebrand node here. That's great. So just having as much crit chance as possible is wonderful. Eventually, you'd want to fill out mental fortitude, but we can't really do that right now because we just don't have enough points. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the tree here. Eventually, you'd want to grab Fireblood for an extra 8 flat, but I just don't have the points for it right now because the points are everywhere else. That's pretty much it for the Spellblade tree, the most important stuff. Now, let's talk about blessings. So for blessings here, we're just going with Void Res here to cap my stuff. I don't have that many options to put Void Res on my gear, so getting it from the blessings is great. Eventually, you'd want crit multi from here, but you can get that later. We have plenty of crit multi right now. Then lightning res from here, of course. Crit avoid. Eventually, you'd want cap crit avoid, which I don't have right now. Then armor percent and flat armor, and that's pretty much it for the blessings. It's like pretty simple. That's pretty much it for that. Let's talk about actual gear. For HP, like, we just grab HP idols, literally just HP idols to get as much HP as possible. Turns out all the other idols don't matter anymore. All you really need are HP idols if you're playing an HP build. We do actually grab a Throne of Ambition because it is 40% more damage and 40% more armor, so it is better than just hybrid HP idols, which is great since we're a fire build. It's great. But yeah, that's pretty much it for idols. Then for gearing, I'm not gonna like say anything is mandatory for this build because I would suggest not playing this build. But if you did want to play this build, I would suggest like a 3LP Falcon Fist with attack speed, crit chance, and HP. You don't need T7 per se, but I would go for like T5 crit chance and T7 attack speed, I believe. Then for the weapon, I would get like a 3LP Renegade Swell with T7 attack speed, crit multi or flat damage, and then like shred armor on it. Then for the weapon here, I would get like an Eye of Green with attack speed. Those are like the more mandatory pieces. Then eventually you'd want like, of course, the Shattered Chains and a Siphon of Anguish for that juicy like 20% more damage than the increased damage taken on top of that. So other than that, so we can go through the gear here. This helmet, it's like okay, it's on a good base. Getting that crit chance. Crit chance was the biggest problem with this build, trying to cap our crit. That's why I'm saying that a Harkar's Phoenix is better than a Renegade's Will. That's because you get 4% base crit on the implicit, and it would help out your crit. Obviously, you could fix it with more intelligence scaling, but you need as much crit chance as possible with this kind of build. So, but yeah, the HP, obviously, the melee damage is fine too. Amulet here, we have crit chance. Eventually, you'd want crit multi on that prefix or fire damage, either way. Then resistance, HP, and like frailty. You need some frailty source, so you take 18% less damage, which is great. Of course, Renegade's Well, just all this attack speed. It gives you a very, very large amount of attack speed. Lots of flat damage too. the shred as well. It's just a nice low LP base with a lot of attack speed. Also, that 5 to all attributes actually works for our intelligence and for our dexterity stacking, so we actually end up getting a decent chunk of crit out of it as well, which is interesting. Then for Eye of Rain, of course, attack speed, just as much crit multi as possible, is all our crit multi in one item, which is great. Our chest here, HP, levels of Firebrand and intelligence. Firebrand is a point horror of a tree, so we want as much levels to Firebrand as possible. That's convenient for us. Then for our rings here, we have a Sun Wreath. Sun Wreath just lets us do the AoE Flame Wreath, and it actually gives us a decent amount of melee flat fire on it as well, and percent fire. So overall, Sun Wreath ends up being a decent item for us in like totality here. Then Shattered Chains for the more damage, the armor, the melee damage percent, just all around really good belt. Then Siphon of Anguish, of course, low LP, get some HP endurance. I needed a little bit of mana regen, so we went for mana regen on the Siphon. And of course, Falcon Fist, this is our best in slot for your gloves. You get melee flat fire, attack speed, like double attack speed. It's great. It's just so much freaking attack speed. It feels so good. Then for the boots, Citadel boots, because they give you a lot of flat armor, and the reason why we're running this over Blood of the Exile is because we need cooldown recovery speed. If you get cooldown recovery speed on a pair of Blood of the Exiles, I believe that would be the way to go instead of a pair of Citadel boots. I just didn't slam this pair of Blood of the Exiles, but if you can get cooldown on a Blood of the Exiles, that would be the way to go. Then for Relic here, just crit chance, eventually crit multi. This Relic's really shit. It's just what I'm using right now. You could go for way better than this, but I didn't want to dump more currency into this build. But yeah, that's going to be it for the character. That's going to be it for the build. With all that being said, this has been Dread. I'll have to go do something else. Bye. Don't play this build.